What's up, everybody? It's Cliff. I just wanted to go over a few things that I'm doing here with some map making. I wanted to be able to make assets for creating a map that would quickly update almost in real time, but I wanted to do it in Photoshop. So this is what I came up with here. So the idea behind it is you could take something like this guy right here, and you could place it in at any angle, and it would update in a pseudo three-dimensional way. I know it's not perfect if you look at like the lines on the side here like this, but on a map it would be smaller like this. It would be much less noticeable. So I came up with these little designs here, which are just simple little, just assets that you could use for any kind of purpose. And the nice thing about it is you can see it has like the shading on the top part here, a little bit of a shadow here, a shadow on the ground. And as you turn it, that shading updates with it. So even from this angle here, it looks shaded on this side. And it's all based on, if you use Photoshop at all, the global light. So you could change the global light of the scene and it would update all that. For how I'm going to use it, this is going to be perfect because I want it to have just a standard light. And then to take it one step further, what I did was I added the ability to colorize these. And what I did was basically make a pure blue asset for the house shape. And then I did a pure red, but I did it at 150 instead of 255, so that way it'll allow some shading to show through. And then I did a hue saturation shift on it, but I'm only affecting those channels. And in doing so, it effectively allows you to, on the fly, be able to jump to the red channel for the roof and change it. And then for the blue channel, it'd be the same type of deal here. So if you go to the blues and change it, you could change just what the bottom looks like. So effectively, you could come up with something that looks like this. Go over here to just the reds and change what the roof looks like, so we could get some funky colors like this. And you could say it's an apothecary or mage's hut or a witch's house, or use your imagination as far as map building goes, what that could go for. But then again, the shading updates in real time. So this is a nice, easy way to quickly be able to modify different assets. And then haven't used it in practice yet, so I don't know for sure how well it's going to work. Hopefully it works well, because that's what I'm going for. But should be able to take these assets and then in any sort of capacity, just duplicate them, and then you could build like this. And by putting these things together in different configurations, you could build small little groupings for like neighborhoods. And again, if you don't like the way that the colors look on one, you just gotta change it. And then we can come up with getting something that matches a little bit better here. And if you wanted to, you could jump to these specific ones here, and like we'll just change the color of the house in the middle. Something like this. And did I touch the main one again? I think I did. That stayed the same. Stop it. Okay. But yeah, so change it like this. So this is just an idea of something that I'm working on that I'm going to attempt to use in map making into a better capacity. But again, this is just so I could quickly and easily add pseudo three-dimensional shapes to it, where it's not going to take crazy long to do, so I can throw together town maps and whatnot a little bit quicker than what normal workflow would allow me to do. And the fact that you'd be able to take these things, rearrange them, and still get that same perspective of a 3D view from it. So we just gotta take this, and now we got a little neighborhood grouping here. This guy here too. So be able to take these guys and move them along. And then now we got ourselves a small little neighborhood grouping. And then, you know, we could extrapolate that to larger sizes and eventually try to fill out like a map. Like this is for my Dungeons & Dragons campaign, the city of Durian. What I want to do is to be able to, if we look at this here, this is what it looks like right now. And I just did a lot of generic shapes and used a map maker for this. But I want to be able to fill these in with individual homes and flesh it out a little bit more. So yeah, so ideally I'll have something like this in all those areas and it'll look a little bit better. And then that way, using Fantasy Grounds, I'll be able to drop pins on these for places that they've actually discovered and know what they are. And then that way the players will know which each one is. So just an idea I have. If you guys have any suggestions, comments, anything like that, let me know. And actually, if you want, maybe this would help a little bit too. I could take you through real quick what the layer breakdown looks like. So for the square roofs, it's pretty much the same type of breakdown for the rectangle and the square one. So this is everything we have here. So there's the roof itself, which is just a 200 pixel by 100 pixel rectangle. I threw a bevel on it, so that way it would have that like 3D look to it, so it's not so flat. And plus, with using the bevel, it's going to allow it to stick with that global light source, so that way when you spin it, it's still lit the exact same way. I did a stroke around the perimeter of the roof just to make it stand out a little bit more. And then I threw a pattern over it. I had a gradient on there at one point to give the shaded look, but the bevel works a lot better, so I got rid of that. This layer right here is just me actually drawing over where the bevel lines are, so that way you could see that it already has these creases, if you will. So I just drew over that with black, so that way it would stand out a little bit more. And then here's the way to get the trickery going with it all. So I added a drop shadow here, which is the roof drop shadow, which is, if you look right here is where it's at. And then I did another drop shadow, which is 100% opacity. And I did that with the pure blue. So if we turn these off, you can see that this is just a pure blue color, 00255. So that gives you the illusion of there being something underneath the roof, like the building, the house, whatever you want to call it. And I have that at a 90 degree drop down, so that way it's going to always be directly underneath it. And again, that's to give that pseudo perspective look. So that way, if we're changing the way that the angle looks, it's still projecting it at a 90 degrees down. You can have a little bit of issues here where you have this, and that you could, if you really, really wanted to, you could do something by doing like just a huge amount of drop shadows and moving them down 1 pixel at a time. So instead of having this one set to, what is this at? So this is at 20. You could have 20 different drop shadows on there. The first one at 1 pixel, one at 2, one at 3, 4, 5, 6. And when you spin it, in theory, I haven't tested this, but in theory, it should make it where you don't have this issue of it being like where you can see that it's not connected, because it would be a layer each time, so it would look a little bit better. But I have a feeling that that would be far more intensive on your RAM and your processing, that it might not be worth it. Maybe I'll muck with that to see, and I'll do an update if so. But yeah, so there's that. So that's how we did that. And then I just grouped the group and then added these final bits of shading here, which basically, again, just give it that pseudo 3D look. And then I did a stroke around the whole thing just to kind of tie it all together, which it does make it a little bit thicker around the top part of the roof, but I don't mind the way that looks. It gives it more of like a comic book feel to it. But yeah, so this is my little thing here. And again, it looks really cool depending on like how you move things around, that you can still get that 3D feel. So that way you're not restricted to just rotating things on a perfect like 45 degree axis like you normally would be with assets. Yeah, so that's my thing. I just want to show it off a little bit. Again, if you guys have any comments, critique, if you need to know more about this, you want any more details, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer anything that I can. Thank you guys for checking this out, and have yourself a wonderful day.